keeps you dry. But the fishermen would wear it, and legend, I don't know how much truth there is, the legend goes that if a ship capsized or if a fisherman drowned, they could pull them out of the sea and by the stitches in their sweater know which clan they came from.
Similar to a tartan
Yes.
for Scottish.
Yes. And the Irish do not have tartans. I was crushed by that when I was growing up because I wanted to find a tartan. In recent years, modern times as they say, you will see an Irish tartan, but it's more based on a region. So it might be a Northern Ireland or a Southern Ireland or what was another one?
Tartan is the fish.
The tartan's like a plaid pattern that they would wear for their clan in Scotland.
You know the kilt,
Like the kilts.
the kilt that the Scottish wear.
Oh, okay, yes.
Again, the color and the
Pattern.
the stitching, the pattern would designate whether it's the Stuart clan or the Mackenzie clan or whoever it is.
Okay.
The Irish didn't have that. I wish
They
they
had their
did.
cable knit sweaters.
Yeah, yeah. So, and that one I treated myself with, and I said I would get the Riley sweater because I knew my dad's that I gave him was way too big. There was no way, and he would wear it and his hat.
You can't fit it.
It doesn't work.
It was
on
funny
me.
because when we found his hat at his house, everyone tried it on. My mom tried it on. It doesn't fit her head. My brother tried it on. It doesn't fit his head. My sister tried it on, and it doesn't fit hers. And like I wasn't there the night y'all were trying it on. I said, I bet it'll fit mine. And she was like, no, it doesn't. I said, wanna bet? And I like put it on, and it fits exactly. Like there's not any.
And she's the only one that looks good in too. Go figure.
But
Well, she's the step dancer, so
Mm-hmm.
it's meant to be.
Yeah. She and I did surprise my dad that first year that she started step dancing. And we were at McNamara's
Oh,
pub, and we didn't tell him. And she was able to get up and step dance in the pub, and he was just tickled pink. And then, like we said, at his funeral, he said he was going to have a piper. And I said, I don't care if my brothers like it or not. Somebody will step dance at your funeral. And she did. I mean, and again, my dad would not have liked this somber, everybody like on the verge of tears funeral. And my family and I are looking at each other going, okay, this is not what Gramps would want. And so I got hold of the piper and I said, what are the chances you know a jig or a reel? And he said, yeah, I think I can. I said, okay, when we get out of the church and we're in the hall and they're starting to bring out the food, can you liven this up, please? I've been to wakes that are more exciting than this. And sure enough, he played, was it a reel?
no, it was like a hard jig. It was like a treble jig because I remember I did it.
Oh, okay.
It was something weird because he didn't know how to play.
Okay, but he played something and she danced and everybody started clapping along and it was exactly what was needed to lighten the air after the funeral mass. And then after that everybody ate and shared stories and I think Gramps would have been proud.
Best thing was Brad and Grandma in the wheelchairs.
What else?
So you get these sweaters from Ireland?
Yes.
Like, oh, okay.
Yes.
That's very nice.
Yep, and my daughter is from Ireland. Technically your shoes are,
And shoes are from.
because you have to, they're the Irish step dance shoes. The soft shoes are for,
The more. What you have reel, slip jig, treble jig, and hornpipe. Your reel and hornpipe, I would say, are the most traditional dances because of the music. Slip jig and treble jig kind of got added along. And like when she danced, everything was very choppy and weird looking.
You
But
can touch
now
the
everything's all about like the flair and who has the best
leaps and
stuff like that. And like there's new dance parts created like all the time. Like we just learned the backwards leap, a birdie. I mean, there's stuff that's coming in and going so fast. And
But back up.
I'm going.
Tell a little bit of the history.
Well, I was just going to that.
And tell the difference between a reel and a jig.
There was a couple of stories about where Irish dance started. The main one that I heard was when the British, once again, and the Irish had their issues. The Irish wanted to have fun and dance in the pubs, but they couldn't because the British would send them away to jail or whatever they had. So what they would do was they would close the barn, the bottom of the barn door, like the stable door, and they would dance, and that's where the straight arms and straight body came for, and the legs. That's all they got to move was the legs. So then when the British came by, they could keep dancing, and they wouldn't know, so they would just be moving. That's what I always heard about.
I think that was
history.
a wise tale.
No, that's what I always heard because there was always that.
Part of it was because they didn't have any room in the
Yeah,
house.
that too.
So, I mean, literally you would push the furniture back and you didn't have much room. So it was all footwork and very militaristic. Like she said, your hands and your arms stay straight and your body is straight. A reel is where you travel and you move around a lot.
Reels are usually triangles or lead-arounds. And lead-arounds like make a circle or like a triangle. You go to the left corner, then across.
You could do
back.
a two-hand reel with a
Yeah.
partner. Or you can have more people, like at a ceilidh, where, think of square dancing. Very similar to that, where you've got different partners in a circle and you're using your hands to, travel around each other. A two-hand reel is strictly two people and doing the movements as you travel. Whereas a jig, you're more so in one place. And again, you've got the footwork, but the reel is where you travel.
Now I want to learn.
We'll teach you. We'll share steps afterwards.
I would say in like jig and single jig are really traditional compared to, and we have traditional sets as we call them, and they actually are the first steps from Ireland, and they're like completely original. We are not, like, if we compete a traditional step at the competition, we are not allowed to change it. If you accidentally click your heels, you get like disqualified, you would say, because
So they're actually the original dances.
Yes,
and that would
like-
be like Blackbird.
no, King of the
I was getting
Fairies,
confused.
and it's the same songs for every single dance. Like King of the Fairies, I'm trying to think of other ones. The Three Sea Captains, and like back then there was no clicking of heels. It was very brushing and like trebles, but you have to do them St. Patrick's Day. Why didn't we think of that one?
Originally, again, your dancing happened in your houses. The pub was public house, is an extension of the living room. People's homes were so small that you couldn't have a gathering, so you would go to the ale house, the public house, where everybody would sit. It was like being in somebody's living room, really. You have tables and chairs. You might have a chair like this in a setting like this, and sharing a pint. The musicians may just as easily be sitting in chairs like this as opposed to being on a stage. And then as your dancing became a celebration, like a ceilidh. A ceilidh is a party where there's dancing. And then as it grew in Ireland, you had your dance schools. Like Erin said, most of your elementary schools taught the Irish dance. Through the 50s and 60s especially, they wanted to bring back the Irish culture that had been shoved down and forgotten because of the English, because it just wasn't, they were trying to get away from that. It was no longer something that you wanted to be associated with. So then your dance schools popped up. Well, here in the States, depending upon where you live, you have Chicago, where there's the Trinity School of Dancers. New York, oh my God, they're all over. Boston. Here in Florida, Tampa, you've got Scarf, you've got Drake. Niall O'Leary is in New York, but he's also had a school in Panama. You've got Drake out of Atlanta, who's also in Sarasota, who's also in Fort Walton. Each dance school, much like the Irish clan sweaters, have their own steps. So when we were with Mary in Nashville at the Nashville Irish Dance School, coming here, you have to take a 6-month break from competition to relearn new steps.
And you're not allowed to dance your old competition steps at a competition. You have to learn everything.
Or even a performance.
Yeah, you're not allowed to because that's somebody else's work compared to your new school, and that's like disrespectful to both schools.
So there's little rules, much like your Irish sweaters or your Scots all have their tartans. Apparently the dance schools are the same way. Each dance school has their own beginner's dress, I'll say, or school dress, which is a jumper these days with a cape, but you'll see a purple one with the Celtic embroidery for Drake, and Mary's used to be black with another Celtic embroidery design on the skirt. It's fascinating when you start looking at the differences, and you can perform for fun.
And each teacher has their own style. Like Carl Drake, he's very flamboyant and he wants the best and anything you can do. But there's that one, I forget her name.
Niall is more traditional.
There's also the lady
low
at
steps.
Oireachtas, which is the regional southern competition.
Remember, you're on video.
I know. But
be careful.
No, her
This is for posterity.
no, her dresses were very traditional. Her school dresses and her
I know who you're talking about.
her team dances were very traditional.
She's a dancer.
Or dance
Instructor,
teacher, yeah.
A dance teacher.
And so everyone has their own kind of style, and you're like, as a dancer, you take their steps and put your own style to them. Some people are very flowy, or some people are very jumpy, and like there's different things you can add when you dance. So
But the goal for each of the girls is to start out as a beginner and go up the ranks, advanced beginner, novice, prize winner, preliminary champion, and then open champion. And then with that, you go to different competitions, or fesh as it's called. So depending upon where you are, you have more opportunities to compete. Obviously up north, you're going to have a lot more competitions than, say, in Nashville. Even here in Florida, we have to go from where we are outside Panama City, and we travel to New Orleans, Orlando, Atlanta, Savannah, Georgia, Nashville. In the Nashville area, you would come south, or you could go to the Ohio area, Little Rock. So they have regions, and your goal is to go to each competition, place as high as you can, first, second, or third, to move up. I'm keeping it simple, don't correct me. And then as you move up with each level, your goal then is to hopefully win the regional competition or go to Worlds, which would be in Ireland or Scotland. And hopefully, I mean, some girls are never going to get first place at Worlds. Just, you would have to be like the next.
like one girl I know, she is homeschooled. She's 11 and she's taking college classes. Her whole life is surrounded by school and Irish dance. She travels almost every week to a new competition, but she is a world champion now. So you have to put in so much dedication to get what you want.
Like an Olympic athlete. So are you a good swimmer, and do you do it for fun, or are you a really good swimmer and you compete, or are you like the next Mark Spitz, or who was the one I know Mark Spitz is my era.
Michael
Phillips.
Yeah.
Michael Phillips.
No. Well,
No, Phelps.
We're getting
Michael
all
Phelps.
confused.
Michael Phillips.
Or
Yeah.
Ryan Lochte.
So you take your skill level and you take how much you want to dedicate, and then depends upon how far you want to go with it.
And the girl who's competing, she's Irish, like her ancestry also, like.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of people who get into Irish dance, they have some type of Irish culture behind them. But I mean, it's getting so world renowned now because, like I said, our dance school has one in China. There's
Russia, Poland.
Russia, Australia. There's some in Africa. I mean, it's getting so big. Like,
Wouldn't it be
compared to
cool
what
if it became an Olympic sport?
I mean, I think it should.
For real.
It is. We know someone from Nashville who applied to the Air Force Academy and was turned down because she did not have a sport. And she appealed it and took it back to them and said, look, when you do Irish dance, you go from standing still to jumping up to 6 feet in the air like that. The training, the stamina, everything that you do is a sport. They accepted her. They reversed their decision and they accepted her to the Air Force Academy because of that. So that right there speaks volumes too about the dedication and the athletic ability that the girls have. What else can you think of?
So, how do you feel like your research and your father's upbringing of you and your Irish dance has incorporated into your life and how you share your Irish heritage with those around you?
I mean, I guess because of dance, I get like the dance t-shirts all the time from a competition. So I wear those to school and I was like, what does that word mean? Because like I have one that says like Oireachtas and it's spelled Oireachtas. So it's very an uncommon word. So they're like, what is that? So then I have to go into the explaining and then I give my background history and just, I guess my knowledge gets spread to other people just because of dance, because they always ask, what is it? Can you show me? And then helping.
Or when they say, why are you on crutches?
Yeah.
I sprained my ankle. Oh, how'd you do that? Volleyball? And she says, no, Irish dance. What's that? You know, like river dance. River dance really helped bring Irish dance to a common interest, common level of knowledge. Without it, everybody would still be looking at it as, oh, that's clogging.
A lot of people still.
And they do still think it is.
And you still get the people who like, oh, you do this, and then like just jump around or like click their heels like a little leprechaun. I'm like, no. So.
For me, I don't know that I do anything in particular like she does. She's got the billboard, the t-shirt, whatever. I think for me, it's just living it. And when you ask that question, I guess I don't realize how much I do live it. I'm gonna do it.
Gosh.
Because like even the crest, I mentioned I was diagnosed with duodenal cancer 3 years ago. I'm clear. And about that time, she pulled her crest out for something, and I guess Laura or one of you were studying Latin, and they looked up the word, and it said fortitude and strength. And I had just finished chemo, and I started laughing, and I went, but of course, fortitude and strength. All those little things that Dad said, or the stories, or his outlook on life. We were talking about that the other day. Is the glass half full or is the glass half empty? Well, the Irish would say neither. It's refillable, you know? Or she was bemoaning her sprained ankle yet again. Oh my gosh, my ankle. And I said, look, at least it was your ankle and not your neck. You know, and there is an old saying to that. The Germans would look at it and say, oh my God, you broke your right hand, you can't work. And the Irish would say, well, at least you have your other one to raise your pint. You know, the Germans would say, oh my gosh, you broke your leg. And the Irish would say, but at least you still have one to dance on. It was a whole outlook that things were never really as bad as they seemed. Along with that, yeah, faith was big. Was it strictly because it was the Catholic faith? I can't say that because you grow up, you go away for a little while, you come back. But there was the faith that things will always be better.
So maybe identity, like it contributed being Irish to have your identity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who you are and how strong you really are. And that no matter what came at you. You know, again, look at what happened with the Irish. They lost their land, they had the famine, they had to leave their home country, or worse, they were shipped off as criminals to Australia.
They were forced to change their names, like O'Reilly now is spelled different.
But through it all, they had what?
The identity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's what they held on to. And I think doing the oral history like this allows us to hold on to it even longer. So yeah.
That's amazing. I don't know what to say. I have no words.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's why you clung on to it, because you said you were also German and Polish, but their identity didn't come through as much as the Irish did, so there was more to cling on to.
And I think a lot
Explore.
more was lost. There wasn't. I mean, yeah, I know stories. My mom's grandfather made boots for the Kaiser in World War I. The other side, Germany, I don't know too much. I think there was, I'm not going to say royalty, but there was something. But it just never, maybe because the other side never really talked about it.
Yeah.
Whereas Dad talked about it all the time, and it came out in the little things. And my way of honoring him, I haven't done it yet other than just floating through my head, as I keep telling them, as Grandpa would say. So I'm putting together a book for the family that'll have the family pictures and the stories, and it'll be called, as Grandpa would say, Words of Wisdom and Tidbits of Humor.
That's
See?
a great idea. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, because if we don't share the stories, they're going to be gone. And maybe that was part of it too. We didn't have stuff. It was a snippet here and a snippet there. So we've got to hold on to the stories.
Then the identity will be lost. Then you're gonna have to be someone else.
Yeah.
You are not.
And I would love to hear your stories as well, because right now I see in our country we're having so much problems because of the diversity and because of differences. Shouldn't be that way. We all came here and everybody had to blend together once upon a time. Celebrate those differences. Honor those differences and share. There's no reason why I can't share my food with you and you hear my stories and now you tell me about your food and your stories. Because that's what it's all about, isn't it?
It makes us strong. We are strong because of it.
And the Irish have a saying that life isn't necessarily about the journey, it's about the people you meet along the way. And I truly believe that one. And how Dad, how many times did Grandpa, you would say it to me, Mom, I thought you weren't supposed to talk to strangers.
Oh, yeah, she'd tell us when we were little, oh, don't talk to strangers and everything. And then what she did, like at the zoo, I remember that one time, I don't know what happened, but us kids were trying to walk into the zoo and she starts on a tangent with some person. I'm like, now this is going to be an hour and a half
Just like
wasted.
Grandpa.
Because she'll talk and talk, and doesn't matter who it is, where they are.
And what did Grandpa say when you said, I thought you said we weren't supposed to talk to strangers? And what was Grandpa's response? You don't remember? He looked at you kids and he said, in your mother's case, they're not strangers. They're just friends that she hasn't met yet.
But I mean, even with that, I guess when I was little, I took after her because she and my grandpa always said, like, I didn't have an issue with anybody. I would go up to the grocery store, and I would see somebody and I would go up and hug them. Like, I was that kid. Like, I didn't care who you are, cashier, hug. It was just me. So.
And when you look back at the stereotypes, your Germans weren't that friendly. You know, the English were kind of standoffish, you know, depending upon the culture and the customs. The Irish, I think, really are probably the most open and the most welcoming. And
The bench on the front of the house.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, just to talk and share stories.
Most blunt.
Tall
You s-
tales.
Well, you say I take after their bluntness. I speak it how it is.
You just blurt it out, yeah.
Or you always say, like, I take after the Irish because I'll make a statement with a question. And she always says the Irish did that too.
Have you ever heard that? It's a beautiful day out, isn't it? It's just everything. I could go for a cup of tea. And you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
To
it's,
engage the other person in the
Yeah.
conversation. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
So what do you think from learning all this gave you the most impactful thing in your life? What in your research and from the stories of your family of the Irish heritage that you have, what is the most impactful?
tough one because it just encompasses everything. It's if I had to say, it's who we are. It's the food, it's the music, it's the love of life. That would be it. And no matter how scary life is, no matter how tough it is, it'll always get better in some way. You know, it's never as bad as you think it's going to be.
One last question. Out of curiosity, is the big store O'Reilly is like related to your family or?
We have no idea. I spent years,
Instantly.
you know, telling Dad, there's got to be a rich relative somewhere, right? You know, surely, you know, even Bill O'Reilly on TV, you know, on Fox News, you're going, there's got to be I don't know. I haven't found him. It's, in some way, probably. I remember in my 20s, anytime I ran into somebody with the name Riley, can I have your information in case we're related? Because you didn't know. It's hard to say.
Now on Facebook, yeah, maybe you'll just search the O'Reilly name.
You know, that's not anymore. Ancestry.com has made it a lot easier to try and find your family, but for some reason we don't have the records, and I don't understand that. Other than I have found out that the churches in Chicago where we were members have either burned or had floods in the basement. I mean, talk about the luck of the Irish, right? Then the fire department in Chicago lost records. So, you know, you would think, okay, my great-grandfather was a fireman. We should have something, right? They lost records. We can't find the ships that they came in on. So it's like, and maybe this was at a time before they realized how important the records might have been. I mean, think about the things that you have in your house growing up as a little girl that either broke or whatever, and you just kind of went, oh, I'll throw it away. Think about maybe what if you had held on to it, or, you know, how do you decide what's important to keep and what's not?
Until you need it.
Until you need it, or, you know, 2 generations later, someone says, gosh, I wish we had something that belonged to Grandma Bridget, you know? Is there not even a teacup? Well, it was a teacup. Who would have kept it? Throw it out.
Yes.
So
something lost.
And when things like that are lost, the tangibles, all you have left are the stories. And that's why I'm so glad you guys are doing this.
We are so glad that you're sharing that with us, to be honest.
Yeah, what little bit there is that we can piece together. And maybe that's why it was so important to me, because I didn't have a lot. So I held on to whatever I could get, whatever tidbit. You just were immersed in it.
Yeah, I
It was
grew up in it.
It was everyday life with Grandpa.